This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton sheets from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with sheets that feel breathable to sleep in. You'll experience the purest softness on night one and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code CUMULUS. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while realizing they actually liked a book more than they thought at first.
Stack our shelves with the clinches out. Shout it from the rooftop, can you hear the sound? Yeah. Live your best life, love it out loud. Love it out loud.
Hey HBs! This week on the bonus feeds, Sabrina gives us a quickie on the first 5 books in Ursa Dax's Fated Mates of the Sea Sand Warrior series. Lately, she's been in an alien rabbit hole, and then I pulled her into a fluffy contemporary MM rabbit hole, so you'll probably get some of that in the coming weeks too. This week, we're recapping a book that one of our faves, Mary, recommended as her 5-star bribe choice. Get stoked for book 4 in the Walsh's series by Kate Canterbary, The Cornerstone. Here we go. Hello, Sabrina.
Hello, Melody.
Are you buckled in? I ask you.
I mean, I have yarn in my lap, so I can't get up without it being
Okay.
a hassle. I
like that.
I feel like that's an equivalent of being buckled up. The law would say otherwise.
Well, but are we even concerned about the law?
No,
You
we're
know
not
what I mean?
We're not worried about that.
We're mavericks out here, okay? We're rebels, is what we are.
Does maverick mean something other than what I thought? What does maverick mean to you?
Well, it doesn't mean like fugitive, but it's like a person who does whatever they want. Devil may care out here on these streets. I'm going to confirm that with an online dictionary right now. Just
Well, no, I suddenly realized I've seen it used, I've read it used, but I've never used it myself. And if I've never used it myself, it means that I don't have a clear idea of what it means. Okay.
An unorthodox or independent-minded person. Are you a rule that doesn't make sense? I don't see you. That's what I think of a maverick, you know?
Interesting.
Anyway, look.
Interesting.
I'm in a weird place, listener, okay? I've got my jellyfish arms over here, and I'm just vibing in a weird place, okay? The vibrations are set to strange. I can't stop doing things. I can't stop doing things incredibly impulsively. Thankfully, I like my hair kind of mostly, as long as I curl it every day. That's not ideal. I dyed my hair 3 different colors randomly. No. I had a hat on because I was trying to move the accidental 20 yards of wood chips that I accidentally got today in the mist, in the rain. And so I had to wear a hat.
Is it accidental or is it impulsive?
Look, what's the difference, really?
No,
you know what I mean? Things happened is really
Melody,
what was the answer.
There's a huge difference. Because you can look at an
I did
accident.
it on purpose. No, you know what? It is mildly accidental because I swear to fucking God, I confirmed with this guy several times that it was a smaller load of wood chips, like between 5 and 8 yards. And what got dumped in my lap was no less than 20 yards of arborist chips. Okay, so like I impulsively got a reasonable amount of wood chips, okay? But then I accidentally got a measure fuck ton more than that. I also gave myself a really bad haircut recently.
You know what? I was about to ask if you were going to be able to use all of the wood chips, and then realized that's a stupid question. You will absolutely find
sweet,
reasons.
you sweet baby angel. Look at you over there. You're so sweet. Yeah. So anyway, it's weird over here, and I really wanted to like book, but I didn't.
Okay, I do have to ask because I loved Book. Now, to be fair,
Yes.
I've read like Kate Canterbury's entire back catalog. Like I love a Kate Canterbury. So this was again. Is this a dark lover? You didn't hate Book, did it? Okay.
No. Here's the thing. This was a confluence of circumstances that all came together because I was really expecting to like it because I've heard incredible things about Kate Canterbury from like every single person I respect, you know? It's my first Kate Canterbury, which is tough. It's book 4 or 6.
I wonder if part of it is that.
This isn't an ensemble romance novel. We spend so much time with brothers that I do not need to give a shit about, but I would have if I started from book 1.
Well, that's the thing. I had forgotten. So I read this series, like the first 4 or 5 books in 2022. I finished the last like 2 books in 2023. So like I didn't read it all at once, but it's been a couple of years since I've read it. And reading this book, I was like, oh my God, you have to have the context.
I mean, I didn't.
Like,
I understood everything that was happening, but I had no emotional connection to anyone.
No, but to give a shit about any of it, like even Shannon and her growth, seeing her where she is in the first couple of books and then seeing where
is she worse than
now,
this?
No, it's just
she's not
like,
worse than this, right? Because she's like
but you see it from their point of view, taking care of everybody.
Okay,
like,
maybe I would have liked her more then because I just thought she was
Sam's
a meddling
book,
asshole.
Well, you also get so much context around like how they grew up.
No, I also understood that. She did a really good job of explaining that. But I also was an eldest child in an abusive home. Not to this extent. But I think so there was that, right? It's an ensemble cast. We spend so much time in morning meetings that I knew on the face of it were entertaining and lovely, all the sibling dynamics. But, you know, I've got shit to do. I've got other things I need to read. I've got, you know, all the bullshit. And so I'm just like, do we need to know this much about Sam now?
Is it almost like you need to be reading the book that we didn't read and read this in place of?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, so there was that, right? And then the next component, I think, is that, again, I am an eldest child from an abusive home. I was incredibly parentified. I mean, I was on my own taking care of my 3-month-old brother when I was 9 years old. By myself on a 30-acre plot of land with no other people, like almost within walking distance, I guess. Anyway, like, I understand being in that position, but I don't understand her, I think, is the issue. Because I'm not a type A person. I'm not, like, the moment she started telling another grown adult that she still does her brother's taxes and takes care of their fucking dry cleaning, I was like, I don't think that makes sense for the character. Oh, I was a Will hardcore, yes. But even more than that, it baffled me because it seems like something that a boss bitch type A person would delegate because she's got more important shit to do, you know?
No, she wouldn't, because if
right.
somebody else does it, they're not going to do it right.
Right. No, I understood that, like, mentally, but there was just some cognitive dissonance for me on a couple of different levels because I guess it wasn't as key to my identity for my brother and sister to need me. Like, I think I've always had the sort of like raising kids is making sure that they can thrive on their own independently. Kind of a mindset, you know? So Shannon was just baffling to me. And then the third part of it is that normally I don't mind / love a hate banter, but so much of it was just like dick size and like, no. And it just felt like gender essentialist bullshit. Why are you even like it was just not me. You know what I mean? And so I understood it kind of.
So that's something I definitely clocked this read, that I probably clocked it.
This was definitely written 10 years ago.
It's so interesting doing rereads on books that I read a hot minute ago versus now reading something for podcast, because it is a very different experience reading something, knowing that like it's just like whatever thoughts I have in my brain. Like there's a record that I read it online, but my thoughts and opinions about the book aren't like, I'm not bringing a highlight to the book. You know what I mean? Like by definition, even if you and I hate a book, it's getting highlighted. It's going on the podcast, like where it's going to end up being talked about in a public space, blah, 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 blah. So like, it's very interesting that that's something that I don't think if somebody was looking for recommendations, for example, I wouldn't necessarily be like, I recommend the Cornerstone for blank, blank, and blank, but I don't think I would necessarily clock or remember really, or like comment necessarily on the gender essentially, because like there's a lot of it in this book. It was that, like,
you know what,
not,
it wasn't even actually, oh my god, I think this says a lot about me. It wasn't even necessarily the gender essentialism that got to me. It was just fucking trite. Like, Shannon, come up with a better insult than like this man's objectively large penis that both of you know is large. And like, let's make sure reader knows penis is large, calling it small. And like, also, why is that an insult? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was all the bullshit put together. And these are my disclaimers up front, because this is objectively a really, really good book. It's well crafted. The spice is excellent. The characters flow. The ensemble is pristine. Like, this book does so many things well. It was not for me. And that's just what I need to say up front, because objectively, like, read book. Book was really good. By the end of it, I enjoyed it, but I only re-listened to like the first third. And so I'm still stuck in like early Shannon, maybe, you know, in my heart. And I need to be at more growth Shannon, you know?
Yeah, or Shannon like 73% of the way through.
Yeah, that would be mildly better, but no, 73% of the book, she was lighting her relationship on fire for no fucking reason whatsoever.
85, 90% of the way through.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. This is definitely a book that, again, I really enjoyed it. I have the context of all of the book, like all of the things that you find out later in the series. Like, I know what's coming. I know what's happened up until now. I like an angst. Like, this book made me really sad in the kind of way that I like being sad when I'm reading.
Maybe I also didn't need that this week. I don't know. I don't, vibrations are set on strange. I don't know. You probably
didn't need
also,
this right now.
Concurrently, I was down an Eden Finley rabbit hole. Thank you for that, you asshole. I could get all of her famous series on Libby, and so I did. What?
Melody.
What? Say it to my face.
I don't want to fucking hear. Oh, thank you about Eden Finley.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I started Accidental Love Saturday night after you and I recorded. I finished Divorce Men's Club yesterday. I read 10 books in 6 days.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I know. It was mean of me to tell you about that. I have no regrets still. Also, I don't think you should have any regrets, because boy, did I just mow through those Eden Finley books, and did I love them all. And they're fluffy. They're so not angst, you know? So this is juicier, but also we should do some really quick content warnings up front too. Because we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, because honestly, the book doesn't really even spend a lot of time on it.
If you read this book, and in order to talk about some of the stuff, the context surrounding some
in order to understand the characters.
Yeah, the content warning for child abuse, child sexual assault,
Mm-hmm.
unintentional, almost suicide, serious lack of taking care of yourself physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm. A lot of alcohol abuse.
Alcohol abuse.
Like I think in one time it goes to like the misuse realm.
There's just a lot. I think she has like content warnings on like her website.
Oh, really?
And
Oh,
the
sure.
book and stuff like that. So like just heed those. They're there
Yes.
for a reason.
But most of it, especially obviously the child abuse, is historical and it's not on the page. So
Yes.
we're going to talk about it in the
Alcohol
same
abuse,
kind of skimming way.
substance abuse and stuff like that. That is definitely on page and all of that.
Yeah.
Kind of, so like that's just our kind of blanket
Mm-hmm.
up front.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up. I think probably one of the most interesting things about this was rereading it for me because
Mhm.
again, it's been a hot minute since I read it, and I remember this series, like it sent me down the Kate Canterbury rabbit hole. I read the first book in the series, and I did what I do.
That's Patrick, right? Oldest
No.
brother?
Patrick
No.
is second. The first one is Matt and Lauren.
Oh, interesting.
But this is, I think, the oldest reread that I've done for a podcast. And so I am in
Oh.
a very, very different place now. Like even the Hunger Like Noah, like IAD and all of that, it's also specifically a reread that I've read past that book. So like a Hunger Like No Other, when we started IAD, that was a reread for me. But I'd only read that one book. And this is a reread from years ago.
Sure.
That I'm rereading for the first time now. I didn't reread the whole series. And it was wild. It was weird having, like, being able to remember like the tiniest bit and feeling attached to the characters. But I definitely didn't feel the same level of, like, obsessive need to get through it. As I did that first time, because the first time I was shoveling it down like because like I just needed to get through the series. And like, oh my god, it's seeing Magnolia. She's in the Centillion Triplet series or the Adventures of whatever. There's another series by Kate that is by Kate. You know, because we're besties on a first name basis.
Is that Roof Garden Girl?
Yes. Like, I forgot. I still think about some of the books in that series. Like, I can remember scenes from that series. It's just so good. It's just so I love Kate Canterbury.
Yeah, objectively, this was a really good book, but vibrations are set on strange. I don't know. Here we go. So
I do like that phrase. Vibrations set on strange. That's very cute.
Thank you. Maybe we need to make that a sticker. That feels very HB coded.
I agree.
So we open up this book, and Shannon is the boss bitch of her family company, and she's just not doing well. She's just like bad. And we find out, you know, toward the end of this like now section that she's trying to get over a quasi breakup, but you know, she's just doing her fucking best. She's treading water. She's focusing on her professional career in order to like get this dude out of her mind. She's dating a douchebag just because he like fills time and space and doesn't require very much of her.
God, and Gerard is so insufferable. We realize just how insufferable he is at the very end of the book, like what happens post this scene kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like, I forgot how awful he was.
Ugh.
I forgot he even existed. And I started reading it, and I was like, where's Will?
I mean, yeah, we're all wondering that because I was like, this couldn't possibly be the hero. There's no way. Anyway, so she ends up like sort of having to take this guy back to her house because he just like won't stop talking when she gets to her stoop. And then he's still talking as she like goes up the stairs. And she's like, I bet.
That's how you took that scene?
Yes.
Oh.
How did you take that scene?
I took it as like they were like she had planned on him coming back for a lackluster orgasm because like that's just
I didn't. I thought she was going to ditch him at the door, and then he just sort of like followed her up.
I don't think that I don't see. I think it is that if he wasn't getting laid, she wouldn't, or like she wasn't about to get laid, I don't think she would have put up with him walking her. I think they would have left each other at the restaurant. But anyway,
okay, that's
the
fair.
point is they're there, and
he's the worst. He's like not over his divorce, and so he'll have erectile dysfunction issues, and then be like, my fucking ex-wife would do blah blah blah, and that's why my dick doesn't work. Gerard, get over yourself. You know, sometimes we just have issues.
By the way, listener, literally every person in this entire series, main character, side character, character that shows up for 0.05 seconds on page 72 and we never hear from again because they're in the background that they don't even matter. Everybody needs therapy. And not in a woof. It's a good idea to like occasionally get your oil changed in your brain.
Yeah. No, woof.
Like, everyone should go to therapy like once a year just to like that's how I feel anyways. Like everyone should go to therapy like once a year just to little check in, you know, because you may not even realize that you're having issues. But anyway, no, everybody in this series needs active therapy. They need
and, like, none of them will even contemplate it. How dare you? That's a weakness. And, like, you know what? The other thing was there was a lot of, like, not jokes about them being, like, an alcoholic Irish family. You know, an alcoholic, like, Irish Catholic family. And I was just like, ugh. It was just, like, weird things were just fucking downers in this book. You know what I mean?
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
Is that a stereotype? That Irish Catholic people are drunkards?
Yeah. Big stereotype. Yeah.
Well.
Anyway.
You learn new things every day.
Yeah, right. So she's like staring off into the middle distance out of her kitchen window, not listening to him, like probably still yammering on at her about something like tennis or something stupid. And then he finally gets her attention. She comes to the front door because he's answered her door. And she says, Will? And he says,
then breaks down sobbing.
Yes, just spontaneously bursts into noisy sobs. Relatable content. And then we jump back 18 months. And this is when we figure out how they meet.
Yes. So we're at Matt and Lauren Lolo's wedding.
Yes.
And they're getting married. And I felt all of the giddy joy all over again.
It was
thinking
very
about
sweet.
them getting married.
Shannon has taken over the entire event as like for herself. This is what she's now sending all of her emotional energy into instead of going to therapy. Shannon exercises and she project manages. That's how she handles her emotions.
That's her coping mechanisms. Yes.
Yes. And drinks. Anyway, so she's doing this wedding and Lauren asks her to babysit one of her Navy SEAL brothers so that they don't capture and or torture
Hayes, basically.
Her like upcoming husband, because must do big protect on her. And so Shen's like, yes, absolutely. I will jazz hands around him so that he doesn't kill my brothers, basically.
Turns out he's been given the same marching orders. He's supposed to keep an eye on Shannon and make sure that she doesn't, I don't even know, bust balls to a level that the cops are called. Like,
I mean, yeah.
What is
he?
I think it's just that it was literally just they needed to keep each other occupied so that everybody else could like do other things.
I think it was Lauren being like, these two nutcases should bang it out. Honestly. I mean, who else would have tasked Will with managing Shannon? She told both of them to manage each other.
I think a big part of it actually is I think it was to keep Shannon specifically and Aaron both distracted because Wes was on Aaron.
Yeah.
Will was on Shannon.
Yeah.
Aaron was probably told whatever. Obviously, it doesn't matter because Aaron is riding Nick's dick so hard, it's not even funny.
Yeah. Aaron does not need babysitting because she's spontaneously getting married on a boat. okay? Nobody needs to look at Aaron. Aaron's doing great, okay?
I have already read the book, so it's not you being a spoiler princess. Remind me, listener, beep! We're about to spoil the fuck out of some shit. What's this about Aaron getting back? I forgot. Is she married to Nick?
Yes. Oh my God, that's the premise of the whole fucking book. So that's book 6, because there's the weird interlude with Sam and Teal in between. That's like Sam and Teal's second book is book 5. And so, yeah, Erin, the very first night, she's like, OMG, am doing robot and like feeling weird around Shannon, have to get out. And Nick is like, how about I get you out of here? And she's like, yeah, totally. And then it turns into this like snowball rolling down the hills serendipitous night where they end up on a crabber's boat.
Oh
and
my
he
God.
ends up marrying them.
I remember that now.
And then they go back and consummate the marriage and do the whole like, holy shit, we're having transcendental sex or whatever. And then they do a long distance relationship between Iceland
and, then she fucks
and
back off to
Boston
Iceland.
for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I
Holy
didn't
shit,
finish
I
it after
forgot.
that. And then I forgot to finish it. So
That's-
I just know that they like end up together, and I don't super know how, because now he's doing Doctors with Borders. So like she's not the only one on international sojourns that take her off grid.
Listener,
I don't understand
I
these
would
people.
just like you to be clear that like Melody and we have a podcast about romance novels. The gist of every romance novel is I know that they end up together. So like,
vibrations are set on weird.
the fact that you were just so dismissive of it though is the funniest thing that you could have possibly. They end up together. I guess.
I just like know they do, so blah, it's fine. Yeah, Erin's doing fucking great. Okay, Erin is the healthiest out of all of these people, and it's because she went out and didn't talk to any of them for 10 years.
Nest. Yeah, she fucking went on her own. She was like, I need some space.
She decided not to be a codependent mess like everyone else.
Everybody else.
And like
they end up together.
One of the younger brothers wants to fuck Matt's wife so badly. Like, he wants to break up his older brother's marriage and steal his wife throughout most of this time. It's bananas. Riley's in love with Lauren, apparently, as much as a 22-year-old puppy can be.
No.
Riley is a hot mess.
Riley is a hot mess.
Yeah. If Riley could crawl into his brother's bed and just murder him right there in order to rut Lauren, he would honestly think about it. He is a mess.
God,
if there was any way that he could just like slide into Matt's seat, he would murder Matt so fast. He's like,
damn, I want to refute that because I feel like that's not what's happening, but also it's been it's been so long since I've read his book that I don't remember.
I haven't read his book, so like this is all conjecture from his behavior in book 6, Erin's book.
Well, but also like, why would she read it? Because they just end up together.
They just end up together.
She already knows how the book ends.
Yeah.
So like, what's the point? That might be the funniest fucking thing you've ever said to me, Melody.
It actually is an incredibly ridiculous notion for like me and my whole deal. Like,
Literally,
it really is
the premise of a romance novel. What makes a romance a capital R romance is they end up together.
I mean, they just do, so like it's fine. I can stop here.
Anyway,
all right.
Yeah.
So look, Will's here now. He's sitting at the bar, and he is just like kind of disgusted by this ball-busting blur of movement who won't stop yelling at service professionals in order to make this wedding go. And he's like, wow, she's so pretentious about beer. I guess good she's hot. And like, he's having this issue because he doesn't like anything about her, but his post-deployment horny is really handicapping him right now, you know?
Yeah, he thinks she's obnoxious, but damn, he wants to stick it in. Like, he cannot stop.
Yeah, Will is another one of those guys who wants to be like a little bit worshipped by his feminine company. And that is the exact opposite of Shannon. So let's say Will thinks that's what he likes.
Yeah,
yes.
he thinks that he likes a like swoony little my goodness,
little
Will.
sweet.
What do you call it? A
Ooh.
tag chaser? Like
Yeah,
people
something
who,
like that.
Worship him, or like it's like the equivalent. It's the Navy SEAL equivalent to a puck bunny, and
Right.
he thinks that. But boy, he likes that sassy snark on that lady's mouth.
He spends 20 minutes with that mouth, and he's like, I could bet it would do better with my cock
He's
in
a
it.
brat tamer.
You know,
He wants to brat
Truly.
tame her. Like if you want to
You're
read a brat
right.
taming book, this is the book for you. Like this is
Yeah.
brat taming start to finish, literally from
It's
start
really
to finish.
great because it's also got this taming of the shrew element that I actually really did like. They both think
Shrew
that they're
taming?
taming each other, but they're really just becoming a cohesive unit, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyway, so within this like first conversation, they're like, we're obviously going back to your cottage to fuck it out. She thinks that she doesn't like, you know, the rough stuff where guys, you know, talk down to you or whatever.
Well-
No, she does like rough stuff, but she doesn't like being demeaned during it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right?
Good clarification. Yeah, because like one of the big things in this whole, like she has really lackluster sex in general because most guys don't want to go there with her because
Right.
I guess apparently they somehow know that she has a trauma history or something. She makes a
Yeah.
comment at some point that they're like people always think that she's weird for wanting it.
Yeah.
When she has the history that she does. And like that's not uncommon. Like a lot of people, if they're not familiar with like kink and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
they do think it's weird. But it's like
And when
guess
we
what?
find out, like, Shannon's quote unquote usual type, like, this is the first tatted guy she's ever been with. She likes the most milquetoast guys because they are non threatening. Like, that is what Shannon always seeks out, is like a milquetoast dude that she can just run into the ground.
She knows that it's somebody who she's not going to get attached to them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like they're going to be
So, of
a
course, those
blip.
guys are like, spanking? Oh, I don't know. I am
my
respectful of
goodness.
you or something. That's not
It's
respectful,
like the
right?
most respectful thing you could do is disrespect me when I ask you to disrespect
Did
me,
I tell you to do
actually.
it? Then, like, fucking respect my wishes and spank me. Thank you so much.
Glad we're on
God,
the same
so
page here.
annoying. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like when like somebody you're like, I want you to do the thing, and they're like, oh, but like that feels
But you're so fragile.
but
Like,
you're-
I
but
wouldn't
that feels
want to.
wrong. I don't want to like
Couldn't
no,
possibly. Shut
I
the
am
fuck up.
literally telling you right now that this is what I want.
Yeah. I'm not confused.
Like, if you don't do it, I'm gonna go find somebody else who will, buddy.
Yeah, and if you don't do it enthusiastically, if you make me feel weird about liking it, you
make
gotta
me
go.
Feel weird
Get
about
out.
it. Disclaimer.
We're
Don't ask me
done.
to do foot stuff. I will not.
Sure, but
even
that's a hard limit that you're on the record for. You know what I mean?
But yeah, no, but like if you're not going to be able to do it enthusiastically, because there's this idea. Oh God, I had this conversation just recently where somebody was like talking about like I'm willing to do it, but like it's not my thing, and I was like, are you gonna
throw yourself into it?
the entire time? Because like if you're being dismissive about it, your partner is not going to be interested in. Like they're going to be able to tell if you're there's a big anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
No, absolutely. And people, a lot of times I think that they feel better about themselves and they're like, yeah, I'm GGG and I'm like open-minded or whatever. But unless you're gonna like thrust your brains out in that furry suit and maybe growl a little, don't say you're open-minded to doing furry stuff. You know what I mean? You're not.
That's you went to a far end of the spectrum, my friend, for that.
Well, I figure we should
that
start
example.
there if we're talking about...
Yeah, you're right. You're right, though. But, like, it's even, like, the little stuff. The stuff that is, like, borderline not even, like, kinky.
Yeah.
Like, it is kink, but it's, like, borderline not even because it's so in the zeitgeist nowadays. But, like, you're right. Like, I don't want you to fucking put on, a fursuit.
Don't
just
give
to,
me
like,
a pity kink, all right? Don't pity kink me.
Yes.
Fuck that. No.
We can tell. Is
Yeah.
what it boils down to.
And
we
it's
can
fine if
fucking
it like
tell, and
doesn't
it
specifically turn you
sucks.
on. Right.
Mhm.
Anyway, so Look, they go back and they bang it the hell out. And she's like, don't talk to me like that. And he's like, you know you love it. And she's like, God damn it, I really do.
This is another one of those books where I was like, it couldn't be me. They're so
mean to each other.
And it's foreplay for them. They love it. It gets them off like a fucking fire hose.
Yes.
But like,
couldn't be me.
I was like, my feelings were hurt just reading it. I was like, ow, 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 ow. But I love reading that kind of shit. I love it. It really is foreplay for it because it's all the way through the end of the book and they fucking love it. They're so mean to each other.
But I really thought that it was crafted really well because they still did it to each other, but there wasn't the same venom at the end of the book that there clearly is at the beginning of the book.
Oh, yeah. At the beginning of the book, they hate each other.
Truly. Yeah.
Like, this is hate fucking to a T.
Yeah. Although one of my favorite moments was him being like, let go, and her being like, don't fucking tell me what to do. And then he's just thrusting into her being like, let me make this good for you.
Oh my God.
So good.
This very first sex scene, like, there is so many quotes in this book. I had to stop myself from quoting a ton because there's like so many funny ones, but I'm looking at them now. And if I had the time or the interest, her mouth would be too busy with my cock to make those. This was in there still at the bar. Yes. And no, I did not want to be interested, but post-deployment horny didn't discriminate against viper women who inspired fear in wolves and inadequate men. And then their first time having sex, she comes. Okay, she comes like real quick. And what was that? He asked. He didn't stop thrusting. He went right on rocking over every tender, pulsating inch of me. An orgasm, I said into the blankets. Surely you've encountered more than your own, Commando. If that was an orgasm, it was a pathetic one, he said, his arm snaking around my waist and hiking me up. I looked over my shoulder at Will, horrified. Did you just insult my orgasm? Yeah, he said, nodding. Now get your little ass over here. You can do better. And I was like, oh my God, he's nagging her orgasm. Yeah. He's nagging her over her fucking. Oh.
And that's when he's like, let go. Just let me make this good for you. Mm-hmm. And then she, sees stars, goes to another plane, does all the things.
And then afterwards, though, she's like, all right, you can go now. We're done.
Get out.
Like, we're done with this. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And then he just crawls on the bed with her and holds her. And she's immediately like feisty on the outside and like, how fucking dare you? And all of these things. And he's like kissing on her and sucking on her nipple. And like, she doesn't actually want him to go.
No.
And she's like struggling with it because it's literally their first night. They just hate fucked the hell out of each other.
They broke the bed.
They broke the bed.
Yeah, and so she's trying to keep all of her walls up and he's just ignoring her. But but you can tell that it's not in a lack of consent way.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where like he strides. I was going to say walks, strides.
Yeah.
Cockily.
Sure.
A fine line between any of this being okay, because he does cross lines, right? He crosses lines, but as far as they're concerned, it works. They wouldn't continue. They wouldn't go anywhere if he didn't do that because she is so dead set that this isn't going to happen.
Nobody can get close to me. But the way that he does it, I think part of it is the way that he does it is like, it's pushy, but it still like confirms that she's actually okay with it, right? Because he gets back into bed and he like, starts kissing up on her or whatever. And then he's like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to fuck you a few more times. You're going to have the best orgasms of your life or whatever. And then, we're going to like shower or something like that and like go to sleep. And she's like reluctantly like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a great idea, basically. There's another time when, like, she tells him that she's not. So I'm fast forwarding a little bit because they end up in this, like, quasi-long-distance relationship. And one of the times he's like, I'll see you this weekend in Chicago. And she's like, actually, I don't think I can come. And he's like, that's cute. And she's like, what do you mean cute? And he's like, it's like rainbows and unicorns and other made up shit. Like, it's really cute that you aren't going to be there. Like, it's totally imaginary.
I think part of the reason that it works is that he doesn't accept no. but not in like it's like it doesn't even exist. No isn't even on this realm.
Yeah, and he's so goddamn charming.
God, he's so charming. That fucking asshole.
I know. You know when I did really like their back and forth? So this turns into like an epistolary romance at different points. And I will say that while I found their face-to-face banter a little bit grating because Shannon couldn't come up with anything more creative than you have a small cock that's objectively large. Their text messages I could die for.
So fucking funny.
I loved their text exchanges.
Honestly, Kate, if you're listening, just a book of them texting, because you know it's no different now that they're married.
Oh, no.
And have kids. Like, this is just how they talk.
Yes.
And,
and they are so good. Like, chef's kiss. Those text messages are the same amount of, like, biting, but way more entertaining and, like, better crafted than verbal communication can ever be. And I kind of liked that was also shown in the book. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, when you have to come back with an immediate response, yeah, it's harder. I was just going to say, like,
it tracks, at least for me, does, because, like, I am terrible in person. If I have a second to, like, think about it, though, I can come up with
hilarious.
Like, face to face.
Yeah.
What?
No, I'm saying, like, if I have a second to think about it, I can be really fucking clever, you know? Don't give me that second, though, and, like, who knows what's going to come out of my mouth.
Melody, why do you think the word fuck comes out of my mouth so much? It's because in the English language, the word fuck is essentially used as a space
It does all the
saver.
things. Mm-hmm.
It's a space saver.
Everything
so
you need it to do.
Can try and think of something as I'm finishing a statement. I'm like, I need a word in here. We're gonna drop an F-bomb.
I love it
to clear some space.
Yeah. So they do the wedding. They end up like fondling each other in the pictures to the point that we find out later on Lauren has to crop them out of the family photos because it looks like they're just like dry humping on the side. That's so funny to me.
I think the funniest thing to me.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Latte, anyone? We all have those little everyday expenses, right? But what if you could get something really valuable for the cost of your daily coffee? Greenlight's Money app for families helps teach your kids about money, savings, chores, and allowance, even investing, starting at just $5.99 a month. That's even cheaper than coffee these days. Energize your whole family with a subscription that unlocks lifelong money lessons. Try Greenlight risk-free at greenlight.com/podcast. That's greenlight.com/podcast to try Greenlight today.
This book is a great example of how oblivious everybody else in this book is at Shannon. Because if they paid even an ounce of attention to her, they'd know exactly who and what she was doing.
Absolutely. But Shannon's like a non-entity to all of them unless she's providing a service.
She's the one who takes care of them. Like at one point, when he's like, I don't remember exactly when it is, but at one point he's like, I just found your notes on your family. You literally have their measurements written down to which side your brothers dress on, in the sense of like how their dick hangs. What the fuck, Shannon? And she's like, I have to get their stuff tailored. And he's like,
I ordered them suits.
You don't.
No,
they're fucking
and like
grown men.
And Will is like, basically, you're doing them a disservice by being like this. And there's another point in the book where it was one of the most beautiful scenes, and I wish I could be a Teal, but I think I would cave to a Shannon. Like when Teal and Sam break up later on in the book, Shannon,
in that freaking coffee shop.
Yes, Shannon asked Teal to coffee. I know, right? Shannon asked Teal to coffee. She's trying to be incredibly intrusive to like find out what happened in their relationship.
So she can fix it.
So that she can fix it.
So she can fix it.
So she can coddle him. So she can like, do all the things. And Teal's like, well, in our adult relationship, I think that that's something that should stay between us. And Shannon's like, no, you don't understand. I do his dry cleaning. And Teal's like, yeah, I don't know that that's great.
And specifically for context, listener, part of the reason that this was such a, as far as Shannon was concerned, an insane thing that Teal was able to do this is that the reason she was asking Teal is she found out he had just almost died from essentially like drinking himself into a point where he couldn't come back from.
Yeah, because he's diabetic as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. He has alcohol abuse problems on top of having pre-existing health conditions.
Right.
And he basically drank himself until he couldn't come back from it and had to be hospitalized. It was a whole thing. And she finds out that it was right after he and Teal broke up and all these things. So she reached
And then he
out to
disappears
Teal.
for months at a time. They don't know where he is.
Yeah.
He like might be in Maine. He might be in Ottawa. Who knows?
And so she reaches out to Teal, and Teal's like, even if he did try and kill himself, he's an adult. Like,
it's not going to help to keep on treating him like he's a baby.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
And then Shannon says to Teal, just like, when he comes back, let him fix it or whatever. Because, like, I can't even express to you how sensitive he is. And Teal looks over her shoulder and she's like, I know how sensitive he is.
So I do remember vaguely from this reminded me in their book. I really liked Sam and Teal's book because Teal is very much a person who, and it's a good reminder because I run into this issue or like this is something that challenges me as a human.
Yeah.
Is that ultimately what I do is my choice, but how people react to it and respond to it is theirs.
You have no control over.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just how I take in what somebody does and how I process it and all of that. And that's something that I've worked on a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, that person doesn't have that kind of control. I don't want them to have. I don't want any of those people. You know what I mean? Like, I will take it in. I might be hurt by it, but I'm not going to lash back. Like, all of these, there's so many different ways you can respond to something, and ultimately that's your choice.
Right.
And it was just a really heavy reminder, you know?
Yeah,
Where
most definitely. And like, I'm such a naturally like, people pleaser that it would be incredibly hard for me to be like, hello, older sister with the best of intentions. Like, kind of go fuck yourself a little bit because you're being inappropriate right now.
Like, it's a good thing I'm the oldest sibling because, like, I would cave to my sibling like immediately.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry. So, listener, here's a quick recap. We've got Shannon, and we're now 18 months ago when she meets this guy. They fuck for 2 nights, and then he disappears. And then, like, 3 months later, he's back in town.
He's at a dinner party at Lauren's, and she finds out he's going to be there. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going. So She shows up. They have their, I can't even call it banter. It's so mean. But, like, I guess it's banter. And they're, like, at each other's throats, essentially. And, like, whatever. And then she goes to the bathroom, and he follows her. And on her way out, they end up having, like, an intense makeout session in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then he just leaves her hanging. And she's like, I don't want to fuck in my brother's bathroom, but also, like, fuck you.
But also, like, don't don't leave without a word. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's make a plan about later or something. But he doesn't need a plan because he is a commando. You know what? I think I might have just pinpointed the biggest issue for me with Shannon and her insults. I'm sorry. I'm really honed in on this thing because there is a layer more than just, like, take more pride in your comedy. The other layer is when in the first, like, few meetings, she will not stop calling him a misogynist meathead. And he's like, I will take meathead, but I'm not going to let you get away with misogynist. And he explains it as like, I love women, but he doesn't really mean it in the way that, like, most dudes mean I love women when they say I'm not a misogynist. It's like, he does respect women or whatever. And my issue is you cannot call somebody a misogynist, call yourself a feminist, and come at somebody's jugular about misogyny, and then in the next breath insult their dick size.
So I agree with you.
Like, you can't do that. Those are diametrically opposed. If you believe in feminism, then you got to lay off the dick size bullshit because it's all bullshit.
There's a certain flavor of feminism where that is fully acceptable.
You know what? Actually, you're right, and it's rich white lady feminism. It's Shannon feminism. Shit.
It's privileged white lady feminism.
Oh,
is what
fuck.
it is.
Yep, there it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who call themselves feminist who this would totally make sense. This would totally be fine.
Yeah.
They wouldn't think twice about it. And I'll bet you money if they read this book, it doesn't even, because like I hit it every time there was a joke about vaginas, every time there was a joke about balls,
God.
every time there was a joke about dick size.
The times when she's like, look at your sloppy pussy. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Like, all of those. And you know what? Honestly, like it very much because she's 33 in this book, and it reminded me of mid 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah. No, now that
jokes.
you say that.
I made jokes like that because I didn't know any better. Like,
yeah, she's a feminist who hates the word cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right. But now that I've put it together, I'm like, stop being a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah. No,
You
absolutely.
hypocrite.
But that's the thing is you and I are coming at it from a place
Right.
where that's not cool. That's toxic masculinity. That's toxic.
That's
toxic
internalized
feminism.
hatred. That's
internalized. Like that. There's misandry
Oh,
all up
yeah.
in there.
Mhm.
Like, but guess what? That is a flavor of
It
person
is.
that 100% thinks that they are the most feminist person out there, and that that person thinks that you and I are fucking crazy.
Like
that-
snowflakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Well, because the other thing is, listener, one of the key components to this family is that while they had an incredibly hard upbringing from an abuse standpoint, abuse and neglect in different ways for different kids, mostly along the gender lines, but some on the age lines as well, they are rich to the teeth. They have so much money. It's like a third generation architecture firm or something like that. And like
restoring old homes in
they've
Boston,
always had
like-
money. Right.
Yeah.
So they're very privileged in that way, but there was a dearth of care, if you will.
Yeah.
in their childhood.
They were money rich and affection,
Goodness.
love,
Yeah.
care, all of that.
Boy, there wasn't
very
much of that. Yeah, there's more just like active harm kind of situations.
Yeah.
You know, it's rough. So anyway, okay, look, she's like, fuck that and fuck you. She won't make eye contact when he like leaves the bathroom, and she's like, well, I made my excuses and I got the fuck out of there because like he doesn't deserve any more of my time. So then she goes home, takes care of herself in the shower with Mr. Showerhead on a good setting.
on
and-
her cunt.
Yeah, on her right on that cunt. And then she gets out, goes to get dressed, and he is splayed out on her bed, munching on one of her apples, sir.
And watching sports on mute. And she's like,
there's a sports ball thing on mute.
what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, well, I came to say hi, but I didn't want to interrupt you in there while you were diddling. Although
Yeah.
I'm surprised you were in there instead of out here with your, drawer over here full of a bazillion different cocks.
Right.
And she's like, you went digging around in my sex drawer? And he's like, duh.
Yeah, of course. What are you talking about?
Like, he's like, yeah, I broke in. Black Ops
Yeah.
shit. You know? Whatever.
Oh my God. You know what he kind of reminds me of? I'm a little of the ways through McCreeve, and I think maybe that's also why I'm in a bad mood. All I want to do is go finish McCreeve.
I'm
Just
about
like,
to
let me live and finish McCreeve. God damn it, everyone. Don't talk to me. Why do I have things I have to do?
I'm about to start that, and I'm very excited.
It's rough.
I have a game plan. I'm not allowed to start the next Ursa Dax series because I'm almost
Okay.
done with Berserker God, and I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to start McCreeve
Okay.
until I at least get 50% of the way through the next book for Pod.
Okay. Maybe I should. I know it's too late. But I can probably make other rules for myself regarding that. I'll think on it. No,
we'll see
but here's
how-
the thing.
To be fair, that's a fucked up thing for me to say because the next book for Pod's like 300 pages, and I'm like
You can
20% of the way
that.
through Berserker God. I just need to sit down and dedicate an hour and a half, and then I'm 50% of the way fucking through the next book.
And you'll be invested. And like,
Yes.
that's when it's really easy to read. Anyway,
Yes.
no, he really reminds me of early McCreeve, because boy, does that drama hit the fan in a way that I was not suspecting, but also like I should have suspected. I should have Sherlock. Yeah, I should have Sherlock Holmes'd it so much faster. But anyway, one of my favorite things about McCreeve is that she's immortal. And so he's worried about her returning the fated mate feeling, right? Because it's not innate. And so there's like the early parts of their relationship where there's some forced proximity or whatever. She's like, okay, well, I'm going to go over here and take a shower. And he's like, yeah, shower sounds like a great idea. I also love conserving water. And then she's like, okay, closing the door now. And he's like, we're going to take some space. And he goes, you want space? I literally don't understand that we are two separate entities right now. And that's kind of how this hero feels. Once he's like mine, like, I think maybe that's why it actually doesn't feel like predatory or insidious, is because it is just such like a loving kind of change in boundaries on his side.
One of my favorite things about this book, and in general in books where this is a thing, is that he is the stereotypical. I was actually thinking I meant to make a joke about this earlier, but I forgot. It is so funny to me that you and I were like, we had this dearth. Wait, does dearth mean you have a lot of something or nothing?
A lack.
We had this like seeming lack of fucking Navy SEAL books with shenanigans. You bitched about it, and now I feel like every other book we've done on pod for months has been a Navy SEAL shenanigan book.
I know, and they're coming out of like left field. I don't know that there's a Navy SEAL in places.
I forgot this was a Navy SEAL book. Like I had no idea.
I didn't know he was a paranormal creature, but the way he broke into her house, he for sure is.
You want to talk about? We should have done this for fucking Veterans Day, because you talk about a freaking Navy SEAL book with shenanigans. This is a fucking.
I mean, there
Navy
aren't
SEAL.
actually very many shenanigans.
I feel like he as a whole,
he's a walking shenanigan. Sure,
he is a shenanigan.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of shenanigans to like talk about. You know, there's never an action scene in this book.
No, there's not in that sense.
So yeah, not in that sense. But he is a walking shenanigan. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, books like this where he's this big bad, stereotypically macho, all of these things, but like I fully believe, like 100%, that this guy is a feminist. I fully believe
for sure
he is not afraid of his feelings.
No.
He is like such a what would she call him? A misogynistic meathead. I fully believe meathead. Sure,
he is a meathead.
And at one point, somebody makes a comment like, "Yeah, you don't know what to do when you're not on duty. You're probably just sitting at home playing Call of Duty and yelling hoorah at the
sure
Yahoo yoo-hoo."
No, they say hoorah, and he's like, "That's the Marines." So yeah, but he probably says Yahoo.
We don't need to do that again. But
no,
like, you're probably sitting at home playing Call of Duty and shouting that at the screen, and he's like, you're not wrong. How dare you?
Right. Here's the thing. He is a very feminist man who revels in his own masculinity.
Yes.
And that is a beautiful thing. You know?
I really like Will. Will is like love Will. And frankly, I think that Shannon needs a him. She would absolutely walk all over anybody else. She needs somebody who's going to say no, somebody who's like, and you're in his point of view a couple of times in the book where he's like basically wrestling her to the ground and forcing her objectively, forcing her to the ground. And he's like, is she actually, I got to make sure, like, is she into this? Like, I can't. And then he's like, okay, yeah, she is. Fucking game on, let's go.
Yes, absolutely.
But the fact that he's even aware, he is aware that he is a big dude. He's aware that, like, he is so aware of his own strengths and all of these things. And it is just, it's beautiful, frankly.
It is. Yeah. And he needs to have a high level of emotional intelligence because she refuses to acknowledge her emotions.
Because she's emotionally inept.
Right. He has to like explain, what things are happening. And like, if this is happening, then you might be feeling this way kind of a situation. And she's like, suck my dick, she says all the time. Suck my big fat cock, she says.
And
So
I love
weird.
that his response is just always like, okay.
Yeah, I'd
well,
love to.
do, like,
Whip it
sounds
out.
Great.
I'll choke on your
Give
cock,
it.
sure. Yeah.
Bring it on.
Anyway, so look, they do sex in this house now, all right? And boy, it's also good. And then he like ends up staying over, and at the end of this interlude, he has to go back again. And we do this like back and forth thing. But this is when he gets her agreement to like come to a trip in Chicago.
And she fights it.
Ooh, she's mad about it.
The whole time she's like, I'm not going to show up in Chicago. And then she does go to Chicago.
Well, but also in between, he ends up texting her and she's like, when did you put your fucking number in my phone? He's like, when you were seeing God in the shower. And at one point, she's like, we're never going to stop talking about the shower thing, are we? And he goes, are you kidding me? That was a religious experience. That was better than surfing at sunrise. And she's like, I cannot with you right now, but like, okay.
I didn't make this connection, but the guy that they go, so at one point, this is a huge spoiler, but they go to a wedding at one point later in the book, and the guy that they go to the wedding is from the Talbot Cove series.
Oh, cool.
I haven't read that series yet, so I didn't make that connection. But when I was looking through her back catalog and seeing, because like in the back of this book, it said who's in what book, and it said Gus, and I was like, oh, how did I? So I might be going down a little bit of a Canterbury.
Ooh, that's exciting. Yeah, so they plan to do this Chicago trip, and he doesn't show up because he gets like called out on a mission, and it happened right after she was in
secret.
Yeah, and she was like already in the air when the orders came through, and he feels terrible about her spending 2 days like by herself in the hotel room in Chicago. And she's like, I don't think you understand the level that I had to reorganize my life because I won't let anybody do anything for me in order to be here. And he's like, no, I do understand. And like, that's why I feel so bad about it. And then he convinces her while having phone sex that she should meet him out in New Mexico over Thanksgiving.
Which she's like, I'm absolutely not going to do that. Fuck you. I'm not doing that. I have all these things. I host the family thing, blah, 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 blah. And then in the morning meeting with her family, she's like, by the way, y'all have to figure out something to do for Thanksgiving. I'm leaving.
And they're going to a spa in New Mexico.
What? God,
yeah.
Every fucking morning meeting, I was cackling, especially as Riley was ramping up the heinous things he was eating for breakfast.
Oh my God,
like,
Riley can't stand yogurt.
Child.
Everybody kept on bringing yogurt, and so he's just like, I'm going to show you what it's like for somebody to bring a food you hate into the morning meeting. He ends up just like spooning sauerkraut into his mouth or something at some point. Like he goes hard.
It's his turn to talk, and he whips out 6 hard-boiled eggs and a jar of some kind of relish stuff.
Relish, yeah. And like,
he just chomp, looking them all dead in the face while they're waiting for him to talk. And then Sam's like, I think we're gonna end this meeting. Actually, somebody we might have to burn the building down, but let's give opening the windows a shot. First.
Yeah. By the end of the book, Shannon's like, "Okay, Riley, you win. I'm not gonna fight you on the yogurt thing anymore, and also, I'm probably never gonna enter a battle of wills with you again." He's like, "Good. It's so good."
I don't remember Riley's book, but I do remember loving it.
I'm sure Riley is hilarious. Riley,
oh my God. He's also
Riley's like
shockingly
a golden retriever, delicious.
The most emotionally well-adjusted.
Yes.
He's the most which honestly, it's not that surprising because he was so young.
Yeah.
While all of the shit was so bad.
Yeah.
And he had people to protect him. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like where a lot of Shannon's traumas come from is
it comes from shielding her siblings.
Yeah, because like
in many different ways.
Dad would essentially be like, if you don't do blank, then so and so gets it, and so she would do blank, so and so wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So anyway, she ends up going out to New Mexico for Thanksgiving. Oh, we forgot. I'm so sorry, listener. When he went to her apartment the next day, I knew I forgot something. He sort of like kidnaps her and takes her on a weekend like vacation to Montauk.
They go visit his friends. Yeah.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
Yeah. And so they end up sort of like doing this unplug, awesome, really low-key weekend together. And it says that it's like the first time he's ever seen her like shoulders relax away from her ears kind of thing. You know, like she's a different person in that.
Already on that weekend, both of them are aware. This is like they keep saying that she keeps saying specifically that this is just scheduled sex, basically. Right. But like they're both aware that there's something more here. Like you don't spend the night with somebody who's just scheduled sex and then leave for the weekend on a very out of character, unplug, relax. Because like ultimately, so for example, and this is I think this is a really good example of what we're talking about as far as he's concerned, where like he won't put up with her shit and he won't let her get away with stuff. But also like if she really pushed it, he would back off.
Sure.
He takes her phone and turns it off and she's like, give me my phone. And he's like, no, I'm not. And then he basically makes her, quote unquote, makes her go get in the car, pack a bag, all of these things. And we all know Shannon at this point. If she really didn't want to go, she's not going. She's not packing that bag. She's not doing all of these things that let him take her.
No, she would turn into a literal harpy. Like she would transform into the murderous mythological creature.
If this was actually an issue, this bitch would have called security in her big fancy building and be like, somebody broke into my apartment.
Yeah.
You let them up here thinking because he said he was my brother. Like she would
have gotten 3 people fired.
They would have had to spend $3 million updating the fucking security in that building because she would have unleashed hell.
Yes. Yeah, and like we sort of see that later on too, because I'm fast forwarding a tiny bit, but they do this Thanksgiving trip and then he really wants her to come to Christmas and she does put her foot down on that one. She spends Christmas with her family. He ends up drunk dialing her and being like,
hang on.
Yes, Sabrina's got the quote. Yes. But he's like, you should be here. This is where you belong. And he starts talking about this bell that's in the middle of the military complex for Navy SEALs. And he's like, that's the bell you ring if you want to quit, no questions asked. And I've never thought about ringing that bell. And she's like, well, yeah, no, you're great at your job. And he's like, no, I've never thought about ringing the bell in our relationship. I've never once thought about giving up on you.
He says to her, I hate you right now. You know why? And I laughed. I believe the tequila will tell me because it's very clear he's drunk on the phone, listener.
Oh, yeah.
And he says,
sloshed.
Because I've spent 11 days with you in the past 8 months, and that's all it took for me to fall for you. Because I've sent you over 5,000 texts and called you 218 times. And you know what I have to show for all that? I fucking love you, and you're there, and I'm here. And that's why I hate you.
Mm-hmm. He is a swoon factory. Honestly.
He is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. And, you know, she tries to pass it off as like him just being a cute little drunk guy.
Well, she's like, you're not going to remember this tomorrow. And he's like, I'm going to remember all of this. But he doesn't bring it back up because he was drunk when he said it. But he knows that like he can't push it because otherwise she's leaving. She'll
blow everything up and disappear.
Yeah. And guess what, listener?
That's what she ends up doing.
That's what ends up happening in this book.
Yeah. So is that when they go to Gus's wedding, or is that after?
Oh my God, I forgot about the Navy SEAL porn. God, listener, just read this book for the text
It
messages
is really
between
fun
them.
and clever. It's so good.
It's so fucking funny. So,
Yeah.
then there's the scene where she does show up somewhere. I don't know where they're traveling right now, but she gets there and she is hard premenstrual, like PMSing. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
like takes care of her. She's like, I'm not a bath person, but then he runs her a bath anyway and like
Yeah. Pampers
just,
her.
like, takes care of her. She's like, maybe this isn't so bad. And then
Yeah.
like holds her and they just hang out watching TV. Like there's so many, it's not long. It's not that many times between them before
No.
it is not just sex.
No. It is really interesting, though, because she stays stubborn about verbally thinking about them as scheduled sex and, like, you know, keeping that label on it. And we see him chipping away at this wall, being like, I don't care that you don't feel well and we're not going to have sex. Like, I just want to spend time with you. I want you for more than that, obviously. And I don't know how I'm not making that clear.
Yeah. So this is when she shuts everything off for that that trip where he tatas her. And when she gets back, her phone broke on her trip. And so she couldn't charge it, anything like that. So she gets home, sets up a new phone, and the guy setting up her new phone is like, your phone's like blowing up. And she's like, oh my God, I bet Will already. I kind of hope it's Will and that he already texted me. And then she sees it's like 85 missed calls from Riley. By the way, Riley lives with Sam. 85 missed calls from Riley, 50 million text messages being like, where are you? I need you.
We need you.
And so she doesn't even call him. She just shows up at the firehouse that he and Sam live in. And when she gets there, she finds out that Sam's in the hospital. He almost died.
Yeah.
And she immediately takes all of it on her shoulders. She's like, this happened especially because she and Sam used to be super close. And then he started pulling away like a year or so ago. And he doesn't tell her everything anymore. And so she's like, I should have been paying attention, but I've been so worried about getting away for these weekends so that I can sit on Will's dick. And now my brother's going to die.
Will.
And Will calls her to see like how she's doing, and she's like, I'm done.
This is no longer a thing. No explanation though whatsoever, Shannon.
Well, no,
fucking
because
unfair.
She knows that he would be able to wiggle his way back in.
Yeah, probably.
There is a part of her somewhere that knows that this is emotionally not only endgame, but like for her, there's something about her that knows that he would be able to convince her not to end it and to keep spending time, because he's right. She does need to let her family stand up on their own 2 feet. She does need to step back. All of these things, she is aware logically that he is right about all of that, but she doesn't want to accept it or admit it, because at one point in the book, later in the book, she has this realization. It's when Sam gets married. She's like, oh, he didn't
need me.
He did it on his own. And her entire identity revolves around being her family's caretaker, basically.
And crutch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe part of the cognitive dissonance for me, because it really is all about her.
Yeah.
That she needs to be needed. It's not about wanting Sam to grow. It's like a worry for him, but that always gets trumped by her worry that he doesn't need her anymore. And that's tough for me to wrap my head around.
It's hard to understand. I don't understand it either, because I'm not that person.
And that doesn't mean that they care about their family less. You know, it's the same care and feeling, but like tweaked.
It's a trauma response.
It is, absolutely. And like, there are a couple of conversations that she has with Will where she sort of unloads a little bit and lets him in. And she's like, and Sam is like not talking to me anymore. And like, he thinks that everything that I do is motivated by manipulation. And even though I know that their intentions are good. The conversations that Patrick and she have on the sidelines that we see prove that, like, yeah, most of what they do is an attempt to manipulate their siblings in some way or another because they know best.
Well, yeah, they're the oldest siblings. They're the ones who had to put up with the brunt of their father. Like, they're the ones who know. And everybody else needs to get in line because...
Yeah, and Shannon kind of conflates the idea that, like, if it is manipulative, then he thinks that she's a bad person. But I don't even think Sam thinks that. I think that he knows she has his best interests in mind, but he also wants to push back on being overtly manipulated as a grown-ass human.
I think everybody, except for Riley. Riley is so out of touch. He has no idea what's going on.
Oh, sweet Riley.
Yogurt revenge.
Yes.
But, like, especially the ones who have partners now, like, they don't need to be managed. And Shannon doesn't know. I think that the biggest thing is that the only one left is Riley, basically. By the end of this book, the only one left who needs to be taught is Riley. Sam has his person. Matt has his person.
And honestly, Shannon is so disinterested in managing Riley or, like, supporting Riley in any way. It's kind of hilarious. Like, Riley is almost invisible to her. He's like a pawn. I think
it's also that, like, Riley is unmanageable in a way. Riley, you can't manage Riley. You can't manage Riley.
That's not true. He's almost the easiest one to manage because they just tell him what to do and then he does it.
That's not what I'm talking about. Managing. That's not like this is behind the scenes, like, life manipulation kind of stuff. Like, Riley is just such a little gremlin.
He is feral.
You cannot set him on a straight track and be like, all right, go forward, because he's like, but squirrel?
Yeah. Well, but it's weird, right? Because I think emotionally that's true. But because Shannon doesn't understand or acknowledge emotions, she's like, oh, I told Riley to be Sam's assistant this week. Riley said, yeah, without asking any questions. And so Riley's good in her brain.
Yeah.
When we find out in Erin's book that this is all happening at the same time, Riley is having an actual crisis about maybe wanting to murder his older brother so that he can fuck his wife. Like, Riley inside is in just the sweetest,
shambles,
most golden retriever turmoil over there. And, like, Shannon cannot see it at all. It's so funny.
To be fair, do you want to be able to see that your brother wants to murder your other brother so he can fuck his wife?
If I was Shannon, yeah.
I mean, he's not doing the murder. He's not gonna murder
No,
him.
he's the sweetest. And he loves them and he supports them and he hangs out with them, like, almost the most, you know? And it's mostly like a loving jealousy that he talks about. But, you know, it's still really tough for him. What it makes me think of,
and it's been a while since, like I said, I haven't read his book in a hot minute. I'd have to go look at some notes. But I think it's that whole thing of, like, I think that I'm in love with this person because I don't really know what that feels like.
Correct.
And so this is just the most emotion that I've ever felt in my life about another person. And it's not familial in nature.
Right.
It's not, like, platonic in nature. So obviously it has to be romantic. And this is
it has to be true
I'll ever
love.
love in my entire life. Mm-hmm. Otherwise I'm going to die alone.
It's puppy infatuation, except he's old enough to fuck. You know? Does that make sense? So it's like sweet puppy, but he's got the hormones to make stuff happen. That's dangerous.
Oh, God.
Those gonads are in working order, okay?
Working order. Yeah. Oh, my God. You're not wrong. So she tells him that it's over, and he's like, all right, well, I have to go off grid for a couple of months, but when I get back,
I'm coming for you, he says. And I have never found a phrase hotter.
It was sexy. It was sexy. I'm not gonna lie, listener.
I'm coming for you. You better get ready. I'm coming for you.
How was the audiobook? Was this a dual narration?
Yes, dual narration. Good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Like,
the male narrator has this, like, laid back style that I actually find very it's a combination of like soothing, but also compelling. I don't know. I feel like I wish I could remember his name. In the Pestilence audiobooks by Kay Lorraine and Meg Ann, this guy has the same sort of style as the bisexual twin, the one who's in a relationship with Ash as well.
I eyeball read those, so I don't remember who
Oh,
it is.
shit. Oh, okay.
It's all of the same audio narrators as the first series, though, which I did listen to in audio. I was literally today talking about, what's his name, Morgan and Hamilton with somebody, and I was like, literally every narrator in that series incinerates me from the inside out, frankly.
In some way or another.
It's truly heinous. Like, Kay Lorraine and Meg Ann, I need y'all to back it the fuck up.
Cool it, you two. All right?
Cool.
You're too good at your job. Cool it.
God. Anyway,
okay, so now she's like, he says it's going to be like 6 months. He's going to be off the grid for 6 months. And she's like, well, I've set it on fire and he's gone anyway. So like, I'm just going to figure out my life. And she's been calling the trips that she goes on with him her version of getting back to neutral. And so for the next 6 months, she's desperately trying to find her own neutral. And it's not going well. That's where we're going to leave you for today. Make sure to come back tomorrow so you can hear part 2. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you next week.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.